Welcome back to Shem's Universe. So today, guys, we're going to go over the most dominating numbers for 2025. So there's a trine that's really going to dominate this year. And if you're a part of that trine, what I'd recommend is that you actually take this time to dominate. So the thing is, every year, guys, we have Chinese astrology that goes over different triads, different trines, whatever you want to call it. Whether you look at the Vietnamese astrology or the Chinese astrology, they always have like different trines that work well. The thing is that the same exact thing and principles go for tropical and Vedic, and then also with numerology, of course, there's trines. Now, there's been a debate amongst a lot of people like what trines work, because there's the Chaldean idea of different numbers that get along and don't. Then there's the Pythagorean one, which doesn't really believe in enemy numbers to that extent. And then you got a lot of like freelance numerologists making stuff up. We've noticed some commonalities though, in respects to when you look at the dial pad. I've been bringing this up on a lot of my recent consults, is in the fact that you'll go and look at your dial pad and you'll see like the pattern like 147, 258, and then 369. So when you look at those things, you're like, okay, cool. Across it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but the downwards one is where the trines are. So you have to look at it from a perspective of number 1 gets along with 4 and 7 quite well. Number 1 people are leaders, they get along with 4s who are hard workers and 7s who are contemplative. It's an argument to what I teach with the Chaldean, but nonetheless, this is what we find usually works. And when you look at some of the most successful people, they'll have combinations that are within their trine. And that's actually like what works for them for the most part. I'm going to go over a separate video where I go over trines and why they work together. This is more about the dominating numbers, but I'm just giving you guys some background. Then you get 258. Number 2 is very cooperative. Number 5 is very freedom loving but active. And then the 8 is very ambitious. So they all teach each other something again. The 2 can teach the 5 about being more cautious or cooperative. And the 5 can teach the 8 to even let loose. And the 8 can teach the 5 and the 2 how to be more stern with their boundaries. So there's a lot of different things. But the last trine is the trine I want to focus on today, which is 369. Now, we look at 2025. It's a universal year 9. The numbers it's going to get along with the most, or at least reap the most rewards to, is going to be 3, 6, and 9. Now, of course, if your karma is good, you're somebody who isn't out there breaking the law, or I wouldn't even say breaking the law. It's not always even morally correct. I just say if you're not doing anything unethical, you should still be okay in the 2025 9 year. It's a spiritual year, a year of illumination, a year of renewal, a year that's good, a year that's going to bring about growth, but there's going to be a lot of tragedy that comes with it. So I always warn people the 9 years, be very, very careful, as it's an ending to a lot of things. That can mean death, that can mean bankruptcy, that can mean loss of a home, vehicle, what have you. You got to understand there's a lot of losses in 9 years that you have to overcome, and just like with 7 years to a certain degree. So with the 9 year, what you want to look at is if you're a life path 3, 6, or 9, this is truly your year to shine, especially with your creative abilities. If we're pointing with the 3 first. The life path 3 is all about being charismatic. They're very communicative. In a 9 year, they have that extra oomph of Mars that will actually propel them to success, meaning that you'll actually be able to get more influence through everything that you say. So if you're a life path 3 and maybe last year wasn't the best for you, that would make a little bit of sense, as you're represented by Jupiter, planet of expansion. Last year was represented by Saturn, number 8, which is all about restriction. So the 2, 5s, and 8s did very well last year, and that included like 11s in that when I say 2s, right? So these are the numbers that did very well last year. Look at some of the top social media stars, the people within your community. Look who actually did quite well or made a lot of money. They're probably going to fall within that trine. It's very important that when you have numbers within your own trine, you actually do very well in comparison to if you don't. So 2, 5, and 8 work very, very well, but that was only good for 2024. When we look at 2025, we have a very different story. We have life path 3 that will do very well via their influence. Life path 6 can do very well in anything from real estate business, medical, healing, and then creative endeavors as well. And so can the 3. Like, don't get it twisted. If you're in a corporation, you're selling stuff, you're dealing with marketing, you're dealing with anything to do with commerce whatsoever, as a 3, you'll still do quite well. If you're trying to graduate school, you'll still do quite well. Like, it's an all-around good year when it comes from they'll arguably say a health perspective, a financial perspective, an interpersonal perspective, and then finally an overall luck perspective. So these are the type of things that we typically look for within transit reports, but it's also going to fall in line here when it comes to having pretty good luck just with your life as a whole. So you separate these things down to a segment, you start realizing, okay, the people with life path 3, 6, or 9, if you're not one of these life paths, you might want to stick around somebody who is, so you can not necessarily parasite off their results, but you can sort of get some of their good karma on you as well. If you're around them, you're doing business with them, what have you, they'll do very well. If you are a life path 3, 6, or 9, and I include 33s in this, make sure that you understand that you have very good luck this year and don't share your benefits with everybody. So I'm being a double-edged sword here. But you have to understand, if you're within that trine, you can do very, very well this year. So you should obviously be putting yourself around people that deserve your company. So when you were down, make sure that you're looking to the people that were with you when you were down and not just going with other people now, right? So if you're a life path 3, 6, or 9, you'll do very, very well. There's a bit of an interesting contrast with the 7 this year. It's a 20-25. So 25, the ending of it, we're in the 20s, so 25 is 7. Some numerologists out there will look at that and say, well, 7s will do very well. People born the 7, 16, 25th, or people that have life path 7 will do quite well. Based off of what I know, is that typically your life path more so affects your fate in that respect, with like how your overall year will go. It interacts with the universal year, and then that's what seems to go for you. Remember, I always describe the life path as like the road that you're on. Expression number is the vehicle that you're in. The birth number is like the engine, like how you think, how you operate. So when you look at all these things, you start realizing, okay, the road I'm on will change based upon the universal year that I'm in. So if your life path gets along with that universal year, you'll do pretty well. If it doesn't, then you might have a little bit of hiccups along the way. For people that are life path 7, it's a debatable one to me, because when you look at the Chaldean tablets, they say 7 and 9 are enemies based on the fact that 7 is the south node of the moon, being Ketu, and then you have 9 represented by Mars, which is inimical to it, especially from an astrological perspective, where anything related to the moon is the enemy of Mars anyways. So it's an interesting one. Nonetheless, from a numerological perspective, we have 25 that ends in 7. So 7s might do quite well this year if they're able to use brain, not heart. That's the major thing, is that you're going to be pulled or swayed with your emotions in different endeavors, whether it be in an intimate way, enemies, vengeance, things of this nature. You're going to have a lot of aggressive feelings this year as a 7, but you have to make sure that you're keeping your focus very narrow-minded, very, I would say very targeted. Like, you have to be on a very predatory mindset this year and not use the heart, not use empathy. You have to be that person that gets a bit cutthroat and not too theoretical either. I mean, don't get caught up with your own thoughts and don't take action. This is a Martian year. It's a year of going forward, going extremely aggressive. Every single second of the year should be complete war to you. That's the only way to achieve success when you have this type of number. Everybody else, it's going to be interesting. I would say life path 2s and 11s might have a harder time this year due to the fact that they're represented strictly by the moon, and then Mars, it's direct enemy. So if you are an enemy to the number 9 like that, with 2 and 7 typically is, be very careful with how you operate this year in respects to what I just advised for the 7s. Same thing goes for the 2s and 11s. Make sure that you're really in control of your emotions. Like, you don't let the people get the better of you. It's the main saying you should have this year is internal locus of control. Anything external should not affect you. It shouldn't make you happy or sad. It shouldn't change your vibration. If you can remain like that, where you're in a stoic, neutral vibration, then you can control the energy as a 2 or as an 11 and then penetrate your reality and allow different things to formulate for yourself. So if you understand what I'm actually saying here and clicking in, you'll realize that the 9 year, the way it's going to defeat you because you're at war, is by pulling at your emotions. If you can resist that and actually just focus and keep tunnel vision and go forward, you will ultimately win. And don't let it fool you with false blessings or false narratives or count your eggs before they're hatched. Make sure that everything that you see or everything that you hear is actually provide evidence alongside of it to make sure it's there. Make sure it's objectively the truth. That's the only way you're going to be able to actually get through this year. Take emotions out of it, put your mind on it, and become predatorial in that sense. Everybody else, it's a pretty neutral year for you guys, so the fate is more so in your control. You can do what you will with it. 3, 6, 9, you guys are going to be the ones that are going to run and dominate this year by far. Congratulations, the Heavenly Triad year. It's a year of a lot of great manifestations, so let's see what happens, guys. I have another video coming out soon regarding like the trines and going into more detail regarding that this week, so look out for that as well. But so far, guys, thank you a lot. It's going to be a great year. We're going to get very in depth this year into Eastern numerology, Eastern astrology, Chinese astrology, Vietnamese astrology. We're going to cover all of that this year, guys. I'm going to start going a lot harder in the next couple of months just to get you guys understanding more and more of how these stuff work in a more dissecting way. So you actually see how every angle, every aspect, every house, how everything plays into your narrative, and you can pivot that to actually win in life overall. So thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. Holla at me. That's it for today, guys. Peace.